Hello and welcome to Brackets Academy. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you guys how you can filter through an HTML table using jQuery. So in front of us we have the final product for today, and I'm just going to show you guys how this works. So here we have a drop-down menu with some filter options, and based on the filter we can filter through the users inside of our table. So if I want to see only the professors, I'm gonna insert the professor here and I can see only them. The same goes for the assistant, the students, and obviously we can see all of the users inside of the table. So if you want to learn how to do this, let's get started. So here I have a folder called filter table data, and inside of it we have one more folder, this jQuery folder, which obviously contains the jQuery library. Then we have a file called filter.js, which at the moment is empty. We're gonna fill it up soon. Then index.html, that's this page, and style.css. So I'm assuming that you guys have some basic knowledge of HTML and CSS. If not, there's plenty of videos out there on YouTube where you can learn HTML and CSS. It's pretty simple, and I'm just gonna briefly go through the index.html and style.css. And if you guys want, you can copy it, pause the video and copy everything I have here, and also in style.css. If not, I'll also put a download link in the description for both of these files. So let's start with the index.html page first. So here we have a pretty simple HTML page. Some HTML tags. Inside of our head tag we have a source to the Google API jQuery library. If you guys don't want to download the library into your local machine and use it that way, you can use it straight from Google's API. Just uncomment this line and you'll be done with it. Next, I have a link to my own jQuery library in my local machine, which is this file over here. After that, I have a link to my style sheet, style.css file. Next, we have a title to our page. Then after that, inside the body tags, we have one div, which is containing the select field. And obviously it has 4 options over here: a student, assistant, professor, and obviously all of the users inside the table. And as you can see, we're selecting all of the users when the page renders onto our screen. After that, we have another style, we have another link to our filter.js file. And after that, we have a table with an ID of my table. Then we have the first table row. I'm giving it an ID of head row because we're gonna use it as a header of our table. That is this row over here. And after that we have the users. And one more important thing over here is that we are assigning a custom attribute to the table rows. With that is this position over here. So that in that way we're gonna know if the user is a student, or assistant, professor, and so on. So that's all for the index.html. Let's move on to the style.css. Pretty basic styling. We're styling the table, the first row, the header row, then the table data, the option divs, then the select field. And we have 2 classes here, odd and even, which you'll see later with the JavaScript. We're going to use this to change the background color of the odd and the even rows of the table. So let's start with the filter.js file. So first we want to grab a document on ready event. So we'll have a document .ready function, and inside here we're going to have another function which we're going to use a couple of times. And what the function will actually do, when the page loads and when the user changes the drop-down menu value, we're going to have the appropriate coloring for our odds and even table rows inside of a table. So let's make the function now. Function, and we're going to call it add remove class. Here we're going to have one parameter, which is going to be the rows. And first thing, we'll remove the odd and the even class to the table rows if there are any. So the rows, remove class odd even, then we're selecting the rows again and we're gonna filter the odd ones and then the even one. So we're selecting the odd one and we're applying, we're gonna add a class of odd to the odd one and even to the even one. And we'll just change this to even instead of odd. So we're actually pulling the classes from our style.css file and applying them to the table rows. So now we're gonna instantiate this function to the table rows over here. So in order to put arguments inside of our parameter over here, we have to make a variable which is where we're gonna call rows, and that will equal to, we're gonna select our table which has an ID of my table, and we're selecting the table rows. But we want to select every table row except the first one, because the first table row we're using it as our table header. So in order to do that, we're gonna add here a colon, then open brackets. Before that, we're gonna type not. Inside the brackets, we're gonna add another colon and type first child and save this. So now we can call in the function and pass in the argument rows inside of here. And when we refresh our page, we should see that our table rows have appropriate coloring to them. So next we're going to work on the filtering of our table. So whenever the user chooses a different filter type, we'll have to display the appropriate position of the table data. So first we'll have to select the select field, and we'll do that right now. So our select field has an ID of select field, and we're gonna have a on change event. So dot on change comma function, and inside of here we're gonna have a variable selected, and it will have the value of this dot value. So our selected variable will hold whatever value the user picks from our drop-down menu. Now we're going to do a simple if and else statement. I'll actually do the if and else statement, and then I'll run through the code and tell you guys what's happening there. So if selected equals does not equal to all, then we're gonna grab our variable rows and filter the position, the custom attribute which we gave. So here we're gonna have position equals to plus plus to selected dot show next rows that are not the selected rows, we're gonna hide them. And lastly, we'll have one more variable which we're gonna call visible rows, that will equal to the visible rows to the selected rows. And we're gonna call our addRemove class function again, and we're gonna pass in the visible rows as an argument. save that, and we're gonna have an else statement over here. And inside of the else statement, we'll just have rows.show, and we're gonna instantiate the function again, and in here we're gonna pass all of the rows as an argument. So we're gonna save this, refresh our page, see if it works. So you can see professors, assistants, students, and all of our data. Now to explain to you guys what this if and else statement is actually doing. So first we're saying if selected does not equal to all. This selected variable we're getting from our drop-down menu, from whatever the user might pick, whether it's a student, assistant, or a professor. And we're saying if selected does not equal to all. And this all comes from our index.html page. It's in our select field, and it's the value of our options field. It's this one. So we're saying if selected does not equal to all. So let's take an example here and say the user would pick student. So we're saying if student does not equal to all, then filter through all the rows and find the rows where the position is set to student and show them. And this attribute position here actually comes from our table rows, and every table row has a position except our first row, obviously. So the position is set to student here, so this person is a student, also this person is a student, and so on. So we're selecting the rows where the position is set to students and showing them, and after that rows that are not set where the position is not student, we're hiding them. And after that we have another variable here which is called visible rows, and it's actually the same code from over here. We're filtering again through the table data where the position is set to student. So we can use this as an argument when we call our function addRemoveClass over here. So we can again give coloring to our odd and even table rows. And the else statement is actually we're selecting all of the rows again and showing every row. So that means when the selected field is all, when it is like that, we're selecting all of the rows and showing them. And again, we're using our addRemoveClass function and just passing in the parameter rows, so we would get the appropriate coloring of the odd and even table rows. That's pretty much it, guys. It's a pretty simple jQuery filter. I hope you find this information useful. So I'll see you in the next one.